Hey, welcome back to the channel. At Play Me, we specialize in making short and sweet board game reviews that get you back to doing whatever you're doing. And today we have Seize the Bean. Seize the Bean is a 1 to 4 player midweight Euro about running a cafe. And Seize the Bean includes the following mechanics: worker placement, set collection, resource management, deck building, and some endgame scoring. And it has some of the cutest board game components I've ever seen. In this game, we all start with a handful of family and friends and just enough resources to fill their primary order. If you can fulfill a customer's primary and secondary order, you make them happy and they will give you a good review. If you can't fulfill their primary order, you make them unhappy and they will give you a bad review. Bad reviews are basically negative victory points. Reviews are just victory points. And so the negative ones get subtracted from your total at the end. In this game, you'll make a city of customers that includes 6 different customer types. So like families, hipsters, health nuts, street people, starving artists, musicians, all kinds of people. So at the beginning of the game, you'll choose 6 different customer groups, make decks out of them. You'll have your customer groups, your pantry upgrades, and your style upgrades, and you will use pantry and style upgrades to attract different kind of customers. So if you want to attract some hipsters, you got to build the cool industrial lighting. Or if you want to be able to attract the coffee connoisseurs, you have to be able to make some fancy coffee. Each turn you'll have 2 actions, just 2 actions, and it really feels like you always need 3. I think the restriction of having just the 2 actions is really important to the game, though. This game is a very, very tight resource management game. Most turns you're going to need all 3 resources, the sugar, the milk, and the coffee, but because you only have 2 actions, you can only restock 2. And then that doesn't give you any free actions for style or pantry upgrades. So because you start the game with enough resources to make your customers neutral, to keep them as a return customer, you can use your first turn to focus on getting some pantry and style upgrades. But then after that, it's really hard to go back and get them because you're always like, I need the coffee and the sugar and the milk. And so then you're like, I'll restock hard on the sugar so that I cannot have to do it next turn. And then you get all greedy, you give all your customers some desserts, you realize now you don't have enough sugar anymore and you can't afford to go get your style upgrade. The game end is triggered when the pool of 50 reviews, if you're playing a 3 to 4 player game, is depleted. That always happens faster than I'm expecting. We're usually just like 3 or 4 rounds in and the bowl is empty, and I'm like, once the end game is triggered, everyone will finish serving their customers and getting all the reviews that they possibly can. And then you're going to take all of the customers that you have received, sort them out into their classes, and then there's going to be awards given for whoever has the most of each class. So whoever has the most hipsters will get the hipster reward, and then they gain an additional review for each hipster that they have. And so then that's where the set collection part of it comes in. Like if you already have the most cyclists out of everybody, then you can like switch to doing something else and try to get more rewards, because sometimes you can win a category with just 1 customer. So sometimes it's worth keeping a track of what other people are dominating in so that you can focus on getting those customers and get those rewards instead, because otherwise they would just be wasted. Now, the one thing that kind of bothers me about the game is that the abilities on the upgrades are not that exciting. Like sometimes you'll get an upgrade and it's like it gives you 1 hype and an extra sugar. I mean, and to me that's a waste of an action to go and get that. And so oftentimes there's kind of a lot of cards on the table that we're just like meh about, and we're not that excited about going to get them. But I think that is probably intentional, because if the cards were too OP, like the game would just like snowball, like it already kind of does, you know? Then it makes those really good upgrade cards, like the 1 or 2 per customer class, that's really, really great. It makes them really exciting to get. So when you see the one that comes up that gives you a whole extra scoop of beans, like you want to find a way to get there, because that's a cool perk. And speaking of the scoop of beans part, so this is a little dexterity thing that they added in the game, and I honestly didn't think it would be as fun as it is, but it really is, because you try really hard to scoop it up as high as you can, and then when you get a big scoop, you get all greedy-eyed as you carefully try to bring it back over to your player area to maximize the amount of beans that you get. And if you don't want to do the dexterity component, you get a base of 6. And so for us, anytime we get more than 6, it's a win, and we've never had less than 6. In fact, we've never had less than 7 beans, and our max so far is 11. It's a little silly It seems a little silly, but honestly, it's actually quite a bit more exciting than I expected. Now, this is a fairly tight resource management game, and the number of customers that you can get piling up in your queue can snowball really quickly. And so all of a sudden you can have this like boulder of customer demand coming at you, and you can only fill 2 resources per turn. Like, it can get overwhelming really fast, where all of a sudden you're rushing to try to fill all the orders, trying not to make people unhappy, and not able to make any of your customers truly happy because you had to stretch your resources as far as you could. It's a very clever tightrope that you have to walk. And because the game ends so abruptly, there's an element that you don't necessarily have to pay for your consequences. You know what I mean? Like, if you build an unsustainable engine of customers that gives you a bunch of reviews, as long as the bubble doesn't burst before the game ends, you win. But how risky do you want to go? Like, you can take off more than you could chew, and it very, very quickly becomes unsustainable. Now, honestly, I think that that strategy still pays off more than being on the restraint side, because even if you earn a few negative reviews, if you earned like 6 positive reviews that turn, that's, you know what I mean? Like, math. And you do, like I mentioned earlier, you do have to be careful about making customers happy, because the happy ones stay in your queue. So you can very quickly go from having 4 customers to having 10 customers. And like I said, you didn't have time to restock in between. The game isn't complicated to play, but I feel like the rule wants you to think it is. Like, I don't know, like I found that the way that the rule book was structured, and also probably just the overall like impression of the length of it, made it feel very complex. The game actually is quite simple and streamlined, although there is way more iconography than is reasonable. And there's like 2 versions of icons sometimes, and it's like, why? The consistency would have helped, right? Like, we do reference the player aid even 5 games in, because some of the abilities aren't intuitive, and we don't remember what that icon means, and we don't remember what the difference between like this one and that one is. And I wish that they had like streamlined that a little better. The other thing that I wish too is that they include these really cute resources like the brown sugar and the chocolate milk, but they are not brown sugar and chocolate milk. A brown sugar is 5 sugar and a chocolate milk is 5 milk. And that doesn't make any sense to me, and that bothers me. I really wish that they could introduce some kind of a mode where it is actually chocolate milk, or it is actually, because anytime that you want to do a special beverage, so for example, a soy milk, you can pay 2 regular milk for a soy milk, 2 beans for a fancy coffee, 2 beans for a strong coffee, 2 sugar for any dessert. Like, the conversion rate is very, very simple in this game. But I wish that there was a way that you could maybe have an even tighter resource management by doing something like actually having soy milk represented by something else. And then when you buy soy milk, you stock soy milk. And so then you can't do those conversions. You have to think about all that stuff ahead of time. Oh, it would be a brain burn. And I don't think that the engine is built for that. I think it goes so fast. It's really meant to be kind of like a really fast and fun ride and frenzy of like fun art and fun themes, and then making as many victory points as possible. Because the groups have like specific abilities. So for example, like the hipsters increase your hype, and so then you continue to increase your hype. You might want to like go all in on hipsters because that's what you have the style upgrades for. But then you get so many of them, and all of a sudden your hype is insane, and you're getting so many customers showing up, and that's not tenable. So you have to really like be like, okay, I cannot have any more people that increase my hype now. I need people who give me coffee, or you know what I mean? Like, you have to play all of that tightrope. There's a lot of variety within the customer groups. And so then as you're mixing them, you're creating all of these different synergies, and every game is very, very different. I don't know that every game feels great and that it all feels like perfectly like balanced and whatever. I don't know that it's even possible, but I don't even care. Like, it doesn't even matter, because it's not a game that takes itself super, super seriously. It's a lot of fun, and it doesn't outstay its welcome. So this has been Play Me. If you like what we do, please like and subscribe, and check out some of our other videos. Bye.